I want to turn to a question for all four of you on touch on the Paycheck Protection Program. This, of course, is the loan program for small businesses that was created in the CARES Act, and more funding has been added to it. Under current law, the small businesses must spend the money on payroll over 8 weeks in order to have the loan forgiven. There's now talk in Congress about extending that past 8 weeks. So I want to ask all of you, do you support extending that PPP period more than 8 weeks? And if so, how long should it be? And I'll start with you, Senator Reid.
I absolutely do support it. What we found out is despite the best efforts of many businessmen and businesswomen, they can't reassemble their entire workforce in that shorter period of time. They need more time. They should be given more time. I think reasonably it should be extended, not from its terminating the end of July. It should go late into the fall and allow people the opportunity to reestablish their workforce as their establishments are reopened for business. And at the end of that period of time, much longer than the period of the moment, that's a fairer way to reevaluate and to determine the forgiveness on the loan.
Senator Whitehouse, same question. Extend the PPP loan, and if so, how long?
Yes, absolutely. And for as long as local economic conditions based on the coronavirus require. And we should also, by the way, free up a little bit of the funding available for rent. There are a lot of small businesses for whom rent is a very big idea, big expense, and 25% for those people is too little. So we want more flexibility on rent, longer time period on the payroll.
Right, because right now it's largely around payroll. Congressman Langevin, to you, same question. Extend the PPP duration, and how long do you think, if so?
That's right. I absolutely think it has to be extended, and that's what we've done with the in the HEROES Act. We wanted to make sure that there's an extension there, because for some people, many businesses, the 8 weeks is just too short, and we've had many businesses say that we may not be able to bring our employees back on right away, especially in the restaurant industry, hospitality that's been particularly hard hit. It's been devastating for many restaurants in Rhode Island, some of whom are afraid they won't be able to open their doors again. So we need to have maximum flexibility and being able to take advantage of the best aspects of the PPP program, which were allowing businesses to bring out their employees back onto the payroll, basically keep the family together, if you will, so they keep their team in place, so that when the governor in the various states gives the okay under the guidance of public health officials, that you've got your workforce intact and you're going to be able to get your operation back up and running. So you would be able to, that loan would become a grant. You have to use at least 75% of the loan for payroll, but then the other remaining 25% can be used to cover your rent or your utilities, to help you ride through this shutdown right now through no fault of their own, that they had to close down the business. And we want to make sure that as soon as very possible, we can get things up and running, and we've helped businesses ride through this terrible coronavirus crisis that we're confronting.
And Congressman Cicilline, you voted, of course, for the HEROES Act as well, which had an extension in it. So I presume you're also on board?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, we've all met with small businesses here in Rhode Island, and one of the biggest concerns that folks had was that 8-week period was just not realistic for most businesses. I think when PPP was designed, that might have been an overly optimistic period of time. So we extended to the end of the year, to December 31st, the period of time in which you have to bring employees back. I think that's a lot more realistic. But as Sheldon mentioned, we ought to be prepared to extend it further if the conditions on the ground don't allow businesses to safely bring back all their employees even by that point.
And just one follow-up to Senator Whitehouse. You mentioned potential changes, including adding it to rent. Do you have any sense of how high this is on the, you're in the minority granted, but on the Senate majority's radar? So small businesses watching tonight might wonder, well, when will they get to do a bill to potentially extend this, et cetera?
Well, Leader McConnell said that he doesn't feel any sense of urgency. And I think that kind of blew up in his face. I think he's got maybe a couple of weeks that he's going to stall, but pressure is going to continue to build from within the Republican caucus to get this done as well. they're hearing just the same things from their business communities that we're hearing from our small business community. So I think it's pretty inevitable that the PPP program is going to be recharged. And when it is, we're going to fight very hard to make sure that it's both recharged and extended, and there's more flexibility about rent. So I think that I'm optimistic, I suppose, about this, but I think in a couple of weeks, there'll be something going on in the Senate. He can't stall this forever. He can't pretend there's no urgency for long.
I want to take a pause. Go ahead, Congressman.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yep.
I think it's a really important point. I spoke to the speaker today about this very issue, and the reality is there's tremendous support for what is contained in the HEROES Act. Republican governors, Republican mayors, U.S. Conference of Mayors, the National Governors Association, business groups are all speaking out about the importance of moving forward with this fifth relief package. And the majority leader in the Senate originally said, states should just go bankrupt, or we should just wait and see kind of how things turn out. We can't wait and see. We see every single day the consequences of this pandemic on the economy of our state, on the healthcare system in our state. We cannot wait. We know we need action today. And I think the pressure is going to continue to mount, and Mitch McConnell is going to be forced to take legislation to respond to the urgent challenges facing our country.
Well, let me ask then Senator Reid as well. I mean, Senator Reid, you were one of the negotiators on the CARES Act. That came together quite quickly. I remember talking to you the next day, and you said you'd been working on it all through the evening the night before. I mean, do you get a sense, do you share Senator Whitehouse's view on how soon the Republican majority might move on something?
I think Sheldon's accurate. The pressure is building up on Senator McConnell. I mean, he first started off, as David indicated, by saying, let the states go bankrupt, let's wait and see. What's going to happen, though, and what is happening, is that when our colleagues go back home, they're getting the same kind of comments we are. State government is really in disarray. We have to lay off highway patrolmen and sheriffs. We don't want to do that. We need help immediately. That is going to build up. I think the other factor, too, and this prompts the White House, I think, more than McConnell, is the market. If the stock market starts sliding, and it's been up and it's down, but if it starts sliding, that'll be a real incentive, I think, for President Trump, because he pays attention to those issues. And again, when we were doing the negotiations on the legislation, the CARES Act, that was at a time where we were in something of a free fall. The markets were falling. There was a sense of real desperation. I hope we don't have to go that far back to get the bill moving, but I think what you're going to see is gradual pressure building up, both from the financial markets and from individual senators right now. Take the issue of state aid. McConnell said, let them go bankrupt. That's not the case. Senator Round, the Republican former governor of South Dakota, is someone who supported this aid package, or some aid package. Senator Cassidy of Louisiana, Senator Portman of Ohio. So you're beginning to see individual Republicans publicly saying we've got to do something. That'll be it. Actually, I think we should be doing it right away. The faster we get these resources into the economy, the more likely we are to have a rapid recovery. The longer we delay, the longer we're attempting a situation where the recovery is rather slow. It's not a V recovery, it's an L recovery. So just from the self-interest of getting the economy moving again, the faster we get these resources into the system, the better off